the ADV world, the GS moniker holds some serious baggage, but the good kind. A brand that's recognizable even in the remotest of trails. But what if you wanted all of that GS clout without having to lug around upwards of 240 kilos of flagship girth off-road?
Since GST 2.0 came into the picture, it cost Rs 2.35 lakh more than the F850 GS and is now lighter, livelier and loaded. But there's also a bit of a catch.
The F850 GS looked like a skinnier F850 GS adventure. The F900 GS, however, comes with a new rally raid aesthetic that looks even narrower and more focused.
Despite packing in more power and tech, the F900 GS has actually shed about 14 kilos compared to the old F850 GS. Most of that comes from a new plastic fuel tank, a lighter rear subframe, and a slimmer tail section. The new Akrapovic exhaust, smaller LED headlight, lighter battery, and aluminium side stand also chip into that weight loss. With a decision like that, BMW is making it very clear that this new bike is more oriented towards off-road. While the F900's headlamp design may look very similar to the now discontinued G310 GS, it is actually a different headlamp altogether and even uses different mounts. The bike is currently offered in two variants in India, Style Passion and Style GS Trophy. The Style Passion variant, which is the one tested here, features 10mm less suspension travel and a seat that's 15mm lower. That results in a 35mm lower seat height than the GS Trophy variant. Additionally, you get plastic handguards, a clear visor, and this variant misses out on a bash plate. For an additional Rs 27,000 over, you can opt for the Style GS Trophy variant, which gets a front fork that can be adjusted for compression and rebound, 10mm more suspension travel, a 15mm taller seat, rugged metal handguards, and a black tinted visor.
While this motorcycle is specced out quite nicely, BMW hasn't brought in the Enduro Pro package to India just yet. With that, you would have got a fully adjustable suspension setup front and rear, and a few other enhancements that would make this motorcycle so much more credible off-road. What you get here instead is a non-adjustable front fork, and that seems to be at odds with this bike's focused nature. While the overall design of this motorcycle is quite purposeful and attractive, this shade of yellow might divide opinions. I would have also liked for a brighter headlight, and the integrated taillight with the indicator looks perhaps a bit too delicate for a rugged motorcycle like this.
The lower 835mm seat height of this variant will appeal to shorter riders. At 5'7", Harshad, our videographer, is on his toes, and riders taller than this should be able to flatfoot this motorcycle. However, the reach to the handlebar feels slightly stretched. Interestingly enough, the same reach works well when you're standing on the pegs.
The tank is now narrower, the seat a bit more rally style, and the overall ergonomics seem to be more suited for off-road riding. While standing ergonomics is quite nice and quite comfortable, seating ergonomics seem a bit more compromised for long distances.
Another thing worth mentioning is that the seat is quite firm and couch-like comfort is not something you're going to find here. Range is another limitation. Compared to the F900 GS Adventure's 23-litre tank, the standard F900 GS will likely go under 300 km on a full tank.
The lack of grab rails and mounting points adds to the rally look, but also hurts its touring credentials. BMW does offer panniers and luggage racks, but these are optional extras that could set you back over $1 lakh. Under the skin, BMW has reworked this 853cc motor, bumping up the displacement to now 895cc. It produces 10 horsepower and 1 Nm more, and fire it up and... And this motor now has a bit more character to its sound, thanks in part to this standard Akrapovic exhaust. On the move, the bike feels livelier across the rev range. The broader torque spread allows for easy chugging in higher gears and confident overtakes. There's no explosive top end, but the mid-range is very strong, perfect for trails and highway cruising. Despite its upright stance, the F900 GS is deceptively quick and will get into high triple-digit territory with ease. Above 160 kph, the chunky Metzeler Karoo 4 tires become a limiting factor more than the motor. City commutes don't reveal extreme heat even in summer, and it shouldn't be a serious problem in slow-moving traffic either. Hit the dirt and the torque spread is quite noticeable even there. There seems to be a broader spread of power, and you've got plenty of low-end grunt to help you with any rock climbing or easy highway overtakes. The better spread of torque also allows you to have a lot more on tap, and it's very easy to initiate slides on this motorcycle. The 6-speed gearbox is slick, but paired with this bi-directional quick shifter can feel a bit clunky. So especially when you're using road boots, that feels like you need a bit more effort to get this going, but with off-road boots, the effort seems a bit less. Regardless, this quick shifter system isn't as smooth as some of its rivals. In terms of suspension ride quality, when a brand like BMW does a complete overhaul of their suspension, the expectations aren't just high, they're huge. The lighter chassis, revised steering geometry and the shorter rear subframe make this a lot more agile than the F850 GSA. It still retains that planted GS feel, but with a bit more willingness to play than before. At 226 kilos, it's not light by enduro standards, but its weight is so well balanced that it never feels intimidating. Suspension has a soft baseline tune, but can feel firm over sharp bumps. Meanwhile, there's not much you can do about the front suspension. Rebound and preload adjustability can be tweaked at the rear. Enduro Pro mode is the only fully customizable mode, and even with traction control on, it rarely cuts in unnecessarily. ABS, however, cannot be fully switched off at the front, and there were a few instances of it intervening unexpectedly.
On the road, the bike feels surprisingly light and easy to filter through traffic. Around corners, the chassis feels composed, but the Karoo 4s start to show their dual-purpose nature. While these tires work well off-road, they feel a bit awkward on-road and also seem to wear quite quickly. Our particular test bike had signs of excess wear at the rear, with less than 3,000 kilometers on the odo. But that can also be explained by how easily this powerful engine can spin up the tire.
BMW hasn't just added 50cc and changed the paint. This is a proper evolution over the F850 GS. With sharper dynamics, better ergonomics and a stronger mid-range, this is a far more focused machine than its predecessor. Even without the international spec Showa suspension or the Enduro Pro package, the two variants that we get here are still very well equipped and versatile for ADVs. That being said, if you are looking at the F900 GS, chances are that off-road riding is a bit of a priority, and that sort of makes this motorcycle a bit of a head scratcher, because anybody that truly wants to go off-road and push the limits would prefer the full-blown international spec. Factor in BMW's aggressive pricing, and despite being a CBU, this motorcycle significantly undercuts its competition.
If you were to throw in the extra Rs 27,000 and get the top variant, spec in some accessories extra, you'd still manage to undercut the Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro and the Ducati Desert X by a fair margin. That value for money is one of the biggest appeals with this GS.
If you are looking for something for the long haul, BMW does sell the F900 GSA, which is far better suited for long distances and is a bit more road oriented and has a lot more road presence in that sense. Plus, it has a much larger fuel tank. This, however, is a bit more suited for the trail rider.